The Galactic Council had made its assessment clear. Humans were scholars, not soldiers. Their pale, soft flesh seemed ill-suited for warfare compared to the chitinous armor of the Kreks or the natural weaponry of the Zelthani. When the Devourer, swarms emerged from the void between galaxies, consuming entire star systems, the Council relegated Earth's forces to support roles, logistics, medical aid, and technical assistance. Admiral Kira Vasquez watched the tactical display aboard the UES Defiance. Her jaw clenched as the Devourer fleet tore through the Kreks battle line like tissue paper. The insectoid warriors, legendary for their ferocity, were being systematically dismantled by the biomechanical monstrosities that had already consumed 17 civilizations. "Admiral," came the voice of Commander Chen from the communications station. "The Kreks Admiral Thakmor is requesting immediate evacuation. His flagship is taking critical damage." The Zelthani war beasts, towering creatures with natural plasma cannons embedded in their arms, had fared no better. Their honor-bound tactics proved useless against an enemy that fought with cold, calculating efficiency. The Council's greatest warriors were fleeing. "Signal the fleet," Vasquez ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before them. "All human vessels prepare for combat operations." "Ma'am," Lieutenant Patel spoke up hesitantly, "our orders are to maintain support positions." "The Council specifically." "The Council," Vasquez interrupted, "is about to lose this war unless someone does something different." The human fleet consisted of smaller vessels, destroyers, frigates, and cruisers that the Council had deemed insufficient for frontline combat. No massive dreadnoughts like the Kreks wielded, no bioorganic titans like the Zelthani bred. Just efficient, practical ships built by a species that the galaxy considered intellectually gifted but physically inadequate. The Devourers had adapted to every tactic the Council forces employed. Their ships reformed after taking damage, learning from each engagement. They had evolved countermeasures to every weapon, every strategy that had been thrown at them. But they had never fought humans. "What are you thinking, Admiral?" asked Captain Rodriguez, commander of the destroyer Tenacious. Vasquez studied the battle data, her mind processing patterns that others had missed. The Devourers were perfect adaptive warriors, but perfection had a weakness: predictability. They followed optimal patterns, calculated responses. They were fighting a war of mathematics. Humans didn't fight with mathematics alone. They're machines pretending to be organic, she realized aloud. They optimize, they calculate, they respond logically to every threat. But we don't have to be logical. The plan she transmitted to the human fleet would have been deemed suicidal by any military academy in the galaxy. Split the already small force into even smaller groups. Attack from 17 different vectors simultaneously. Use outdated, obsolete tactics that no modern military would consider. Make decisions that defied tactical sense. "You want us to ram them?" Captain Singh's voice carried disbelief across the comm channel. "When they predict our moves, they win," Vasquez explained as the Defiance broke from the support formation. "So we do the unpredictable. We do what every tactical manual says not to do." The human fleet scattered like shrapnel from an explosion. The destroyer Relentless began spinning in a wild corkscrew pattern while firing randomly, creating a chaotic firing solution that no computer could predict. The frigate Indomitable shut down its shields and weapons, flying straight at a Devourer, ship with nothing but ramming speed and explosive charges. The Devourers paused. For the first time in the war, their response was delayed. Their perfect adaptation protocols couldn't process tactics that made no tactical sense. Dr. Sarah Kim, the xenobiologist aboard the Defiance, watched her sensors in amazement. "Their neural networks are overloading," she reported. "They're trying to calculate responses to irrational behavior patterns." The cruiser Unconquerable had somehow managed to land on a Devourer ship and was deploying Marines directly onto its hull. The idea of boarding a hostile vessel that could reshape its own structure should have been impossible, but Sergeant Major Collins and his team were cutting through the biomechanical hull with improvised weapons and sheer determination. "This is insane," transmitted the Krex Admiral Thakmor as he watched human marines fight hand-to-hand combat inside a living ship. No warrior species fights like this. The tide began to turn. Devourer ships, built to adapt to logical warfare, couldn't process human unpredictability. A frigate using its cargo bay as a makeshift cannon. A destroyer flying backwards while firing forwards. A medical ship deploying healing drones that had been weaponized with explosives. Admiral Vasquez found herself grinning as reports flooded. The humans were taking heavy casualties, but they were winning through sheer bloody-minded refusal to follow any recognizable military doctrine. "The Devourers are retreating," Chen announced, barely believing his own sensors. As the alien swarm fled the system, the surviving council ships regrouped, the communication channels filled with a mixture of awe and bewilderment from the galaxy's premier warriors. The soft, weak humans had accomplished what their mighty fleets could not. Admiral Thakmor's image appeared on the main screen, his insectoid features showing what might have been respect. "We owe you an apology, Admiral Vasquez. We thought humans weren't warriors." Vasquez looked out at the debris field, where human ships had given everything to achieve the impossible. Her people had proven something important today, not just to the galaxy, but to themselves. "We're not warriors," she replied quietly. "We're something the universe has never seen before. We're human." The Galactic Council would need to revise their assessment. Humans weren't just scholars after all. They were something far more dangerous. Improvisers who turned impossibility into victory through sheer audacity and refusal to accept defeat. In the vast darkness of space, humanity had found its place not through strength or natural weapons, but through the one thing no computer could calculate or predict: the human spirit's absolute refusal to give up. The war against the Devourers was far from over, but now it would be fought on humanity's terms, unpredictably, irrationally, and with the kind of fierce determination that turned mathematics into miracles.